What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm James, and behind me we have a brand new project, a 2006 Bentley Continental Flying Spur. So if you're not familiar with my work on these Bentleys, this is definitely not my first one. This is actually my third one, and hopefully this is going to turn out better than the last one, because the last one turned out to have a bad engine and it had a lot of body damage. But this is an exception. This is a very nice car. It has minimal damage. It's a low mileage car, so let's take a look. So here we have a 2006 Bentley Continental Flying Spur, and it looks really great on this side. But if you come around here to this side, somebody had a little bit of an accident. As you can see, somebody has definitely sideswiped something. Now I don't know exactly what's happened, but somebody definitely has ran something down the side of this car. We have a damaged fender, we have a damaged door, and we also have a damaged rear door, and we got a little bit of slight damage right here on this lip on the quarter panel. Now this is a fairly low mileage car. It doesn't have, but I believe 46,000 miles. Let's take a look, see exactly how many miles this car has. There you go, 47,630 miles on this car. Really low mileage for this car. Definitely lower mileage than the last two that I had. And if you look in the interior, we have a nice gray leather interior, as to be expected with any kind of Bentley. It's just a little dirty and a little dusty from just been sitting around. I mean, this car's been sitting around at my house for about 6 months, but everything's really nice. I've tested most of this stuff and everything seems to be working correctly as it should. Same thing here in the back. We have nice leather, no issues, just pretty much a little bit of dirt and stuff that needs to be cleaned up. We do have the typical Bentley sagging headliner in the back that, well, we'll probably just let that go because that's a lot of work to fix. Let's open the boot and check to see if we got any goodies in here. And we do. So we have the very expensive factory Bentley battery maintainer, which is a plus. And as you can see, I've got it hooked up, and we've got a little bit of a little bit of drippage from this thing sitting. Let's go ahead and close the boot. The boot works very nice. You know, there's a lot of problems with these boot motors, and it's good to see that this one works. Let's take a look underneath the hood, or the bonnet as you may call it. Let's see, we have the typical W12 engine, 6-liter twin turbo. It definitely needs a little bit of cleaning. As you can see, we have some leaves and grime and all kinds of stuff. But this thing actually runs fairly well. We'll step inside here and we'll crank this thing up and let you hear it run. Fires right up. No check engine lights. We have cold AC, which is definitely a plus, seeing it's about 90-some degrees out here. And you can hear underneath the hood that the engine is purring right along as it should. So overall, all of the damage you see here on the side, that's pretty much it. It's all bodywork for the most part. We're not going to repair any of this except for back there on the quarter panel. We're going to replace these parts. We're going to replace that fender, we're going to replace that door and the rear door. So the only other damage that is possible is right here in this fender well. Now our fender well liner obviously has a little bit of damage, and it doesn't feel broke, it just feels like it's bent or warped from where this is pushed in. So we can probably heat that up and straighten it out, no problem. But actually back behind here, there is a vacuum tank with vacuum lines that go to the engine, and that potentially is damaged because this is pushed in so far. And here are our replacement parts. Now unfortunately, this is the car that I bought that has the bad engine, and as you can see, it has front end damage, so it's really not feasible to fix this car, and that's very unfortunate because it really is pretty nice inside and out. So this will be our parts donor. We have a good fender and we have 2 good doors that we're going to donate to our low mileage project. Now by having this car, we're saving a lot of money because these parts are fairly expensive. You're talking maybe $1,000 to $1,500 for each door. So $2,000 to $3,000 for the 2 doors, plus you're looking at maybe another $1,000 to $1,500 for the fender. So we're talking $3,500 to $4,500 for all these parts, and that's crazy, but that's just how much these parts are. So this is definitely not going to be a direct bolt-on affair. We're going to have to do some paint work because this car is a darker shade of silver than that one back there. That's a lighter shade of silver. So this is definitely not going to be a bolt-on affair. We're going to need to strip this fender and these 2 doors off of the car, and we're going to need to just about completely disassemble them. We're going to need to take off our mirror, our glass, our trim, all of our door panels, everything on the inside of the door. We want to take all that out of these doors, and then we're going to take our donor doors and we're going to have to strip them completely so we can paint them inside and out. And then we're going to take all of our parts from these doors and reassemble it so everything will be in working order and everything will match up. And it's pretty labor intensive. Well, we have the Bentley moved out to the shop, so it'll make it a little easier on pulling some of these parts, and that way we don't have this thing out in the rain or in the hot sun and have it exposed. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the tear down. We're going to start with these 2 doors. We're going to start removing the doors from the car. We're going to remove the fender from the car, and to remove the fender we're going to need to remove the front bumper cover, which it's going to need a little bit of a repair because the forks at the auction got us once again. So we're going to need to eventually tear these doors completely all the way down because a lot of this stuff is low mileage and it's all in good shape, and we want to put all these parts on our replacement doors. So for the time being we'll probably go ahead and strip the door panels because we don't need those front and rear. We'll go ahead and strip those down, but we'll leave the glass and all the door handles and all that stuff in just for the time being so we can get these back on our parts car, and that way our parts car is not exposed to the elements. So I almost have this front bumper removed, but there's a couple of issues. There are a couple of 8mm, one right here, one right here. Same thing over here on the driver's side, one here and one here. And that requires a special tool, and guess what? My special tool is at home. So I'm gonna have to hold off on those before I can get the bumper cover off, but everything else is disconnected. Underneath our wheel wells, our splash pan, all across the top. Now, like I said, you'd have to remove this to remove the wing on the car, and obviously I pointed out the damage here in the middle. All this was caused by the forks at the salvage auction. You might have heard me talk about this before in some of my other videos. The other white Bentley that I had, it had damage to the front bumper due to the forks at the auction. Unfortunately, these Bentleys, they just cannot take riding on those forks. They just can't. These bumpers are made out of like hard plastic. I don't know why they decided to make them out of hard plastic, but one of the other issues that I didn't notice that I had was the corners of the bumper, as you can see here, are cracked, and we've got a little piece that has broken out of there. So that means I'm gonna have to fix that too. So I've got that corner that's broke, I've got this middle piece that's broke, and I've also got this corner that's cracked. And like I said, the corners were something that I had not noticed until now, and you know, they were probably like little hairline fracture cracks, and when I started undoing the bolts, they just let go. There is one other issue right here. If you look at the bottom, you can see those cracks right there. That's what happens when you pick these things up with a fork. These forks go underneath and they push up on this hard plastic, and like I said, all this stuff split in the middle. We've got some other cracks up in here, and it's very unfortunate because these bumper covers are very expensive. I mean, you're probably talking $1,500 to $2,000 for one that can be fixed. I mean, they're just, for some reason, ridiculously expensive. They're made out of this crappy hard plastic, and they just can't take it, and it's something we're gonna have to deal with. So I've got the upper bolts out for the fender, and there are a few other bolts behind that bumper cover. We're just gonna have to wait until we get that bumper cover out of the way so we can continue. And we have the doors pretty much ready to go. We have the door panels off. we have our electrical connection removed on both front and rear door. And to remove these doors, it takes a special socket, and it's called a triple square. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but it's kind of like a Torx bit, but it's got more points on it. And unfortunately, like my special tool for my bumper, all of that is back at home. So we'll have to wait until we can get our tools out here so we can get these doors off. Now with the correct tools, we finally have the front bumper cover off. We have our fender off. And as you can see, we have both doors. And here are our parts. There are our doors. Here's our mangled up fender. Our inner fender, which is in good shape. It's going to need a little bit of heat work right here to kind of get that back into shape. And here's our front bumper cover. So now I'm a little disappointed in this front bumper cover because it definitely has more damage than what I expected. If you just look, these areas that I thought that were cracked, these pieces completely busted out. So not only do we need to fix this and this giant crack up front, we have a crack down here in the very bottom, as you can see. And that's not it, because when I went to go pull these things off the side where the bracket bolts to the fender, you can see this stuff is so brittle it is actually cracked. We got a crack here, we got a crack here, we got a crack here. All this stuff is going to have to be fixed. These pieces right in here, they cracked. Same thing over here on this side. We got a crack here and we got a crack here. Now you might think I just manhandled this thing, but I really didn't. I was trying to be as gentle as possible with this thing, and I couldn't get it to pop out of the brackets. And this is the bracket that I'm talking about. Now if you see these little fingers lock into those slots on the bumper. So when I was trying to gently pull this thing out from behind, it literally was just disintegrating in my hand. So there's going to be a little bit of extensive work that's going to need to be done to this bumper, and we're going to have to fix it because, like I said, this thing is very, very expensive and they're kind of hard to find. And usually when you do find them, they have damage and you have to fix them. So that's just one thing we're going to have to do. We've done it before and we can do it again. So until next time, when we'll source parts from our parts car and we'll start on the body work, I'd like to say thank you for watching. Be sure you check out all my videos on all my other projects. And if you're not subscribed, then consider clicking the subscribe button. Click the bell so you'll get the notifications. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram.